first 9 months of the 2021 year, capital cities as an average have grown by 16.8%, and regional house prices collectively have risen by 14.7%. So both still very much surging ahead, but it's interesting to see capital cities start to take back over. And I guess the things that I want to put to Jules, or the questions I want to put to Jules, is, why is that? Like, one of the things that was mentioned in the article that I found really interesting was the lack of affordability that now exists for local buyers in those regional areas, and that lifestyle factor can only go so far, and then all of a sudden you've got the local people that are priced out of the market. The other thing I want to put back to Jules is, is this going to be sustainable? People are in Melbourne for a reason, so they've moved to Melbourne for work. Now we're starting to see people get dragged back into the office, not dragged back into the office, but there's some big business. They want to see people come back. So is that, that lifestyle factor going to be non-existent soon? There's the homeschooling. Now kids are going to go back to school at some stage. So what happens, most people that I know that have got kids are buying properties in a certain area because they want access to a school. So I just see all this COVID debacle, once it's behind us, and it's not always going to be behind us, but I can really see a shift back towards Melbourne when things start to look somewhat normal again.
There's a lot of pieces to what you just said, but I think there's also just a lot of layers to what's driving it. I mean, if you go back to 2017 when the market really pumped before this most recent cycle, the rise of the regions really kicked off. So it's generally driven by affordability. People say, well, I can get a better lifestyle, better property, more land, more space for the same price a little bit further out. And we're also seeing a lot more infrastructure investment go into these regional centres, and then the roads and trains that connect them to the capital cities. So you've also got increased livability, increased access to essentially activity centres like the CBD. But the regional centres have all started from a lower base. I mean, when you look back now at the Peninsula in Vic, or you look at the Surf Coast, I mean, property seems cheap that you could buy something beautiful near the water for $750,000. And I think a lot of people said, well, why not? Let's make the move. We've always thought of it. It's a better life on offer right now, and we can move with work. And there's a bit of fleeing happening, the CBD and the lockdowns. And, you don't need to be close to the city if the city's shut. And then there's also a bit of people saying, well, let's have a regional property or a coastal property. So you've got investors driving the market. You've got people fleeing the capital cities driving the market. And then you've got the locals panicking saying, geez, we better get in for our kids, or we better pull our money together with our siblings and buy something. So it's just coming from all angles. On the affordability piece, I think when you look at these areas that are becoming unaffordable for locals that potentially have lower incomes, like hypothetically, then they'll have to look further out. And this is why the property market, when it moves so aggressively like it is at the moment, it affects everywhere, because all of a sudden those people that are in the bigger towns of 20 and 30,000 are moving to the smaller towns with 2 and 3,000. And that's why I think it's such a widespread boom at the moment. There's really an appetite everywhere. And I think the fascinating thing is that the market's growing without overseas migration. We used to grow at 250,000 people a year as a baseline, and if anything, the net number's declining. And this is where it's hard to find, where are the pockets then? Where are the hurt pockets if everything's rising? And how long can it go on for? I think they're the big questions. But without doubt, when regional areas stop being affordable, naturally there's going to be a significant percentage of people that don't consider them anymore.